Hello, Michael here. In previous videos, I asserted that one of the ways God reveals what sin is, aside from His Word, the Bible blatantly proclaiming right and wrong, is by the natural order of His creation, nature. In my video on sodomy, I stated that the anus and rectum are natural exits. So even without the clear guidance of the Bible, we can conclude that anal sex is wrong, since it is a perversion against nature and therefore a crime against nature. I asserted the same thing in my video about tattooing, since cutting into the body and injecting a foreign substance is unnatural. With these thoughts in mind, I'd like to share with you the principal reasons why I am personally absolutely opposed to abortion. What I'm about to share is a mixture of my own thoughts and those of others. They are the most convincing arguments I have been exposed to for or against the subject at hand. First, a biblical approach. Since you all have full knowledge of my faith in and service to Jesus Christ as Lord, and my assurance that the Bible is in fact the Word of Almighty God to man, it seems fitting that I should deal with this side of the coin first. Almost everyone has heard the sixth commandment, as quoted from the King James Version, "Thou shalt not kill." It is as basic as life itself. Even the pygmies in the deepest jungles who have never heard of God or Jesus or the Bible include this law as one of their 12 codes of ethics. I learned that in high school. So let's consider this short four-letter command for a moment. Taking into consideration the word kill in light of the rest of the Bible, it seems obvious that what God really expects us not to do is murder without cause. Why do I say that? Well, for one thing, the New American Standard Version, or NASB, which is the Bible I've been reading from for 39 years, and it's one of the most reputable English translations of the Bible, actually uses the word murder instead of the word kill. Still, it seems that God was being rather short but sweet. You could even say somewhat vague when He gave Moses this command. But, in my opinion, the reason He was so vague about what you could not murder without cause is because He did not want foolish mankind to try to second guess Him. He is including every living thing, and rather obviously, especially that which is human. The dictionary seems to define that which is alive as whatever is animate, or not inanimate. Animation is revealed in several ways, such as eating, breathing, moving, growing, and reproducing. Is there anything else? I can't think of anything, but you get the idea. Now, if you're walking down the street and you kick a rock, is the rock now a living thing because it is moving? Of course not. To be living, a thing must possess animation in and of itself. Therefore, if it grew legs and got up and walked away, it would then be classified as alive, in and of itself, on two counts, growth and movement. Does a fetus qualify under this definition? It is true that the infant cannot survive outside the womb for several months after conception, but if you really want to know the answer to that question, consider this. When a baby kicks in the mother's tummy, is it by the will of the mother or the child? Obviously then, the child is animate in and of itself by the very fact that he or she kicks. So, the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," comes to mean, thou shalt not murder without cause anything possessing animation, especially human beings. So when I say without cause, what am I talking about? What about capital punishment? Is it murder without cause? Absolutely not. In fact, On the contrary, it is not only acceptable, but biblically commanded in certain cases. Or how about swatting a fly? Obviously, if a germ-ridden bug is in your house and about to spread disease in your kitchen, you would be justified in taking him out. But outside, to kill even a fly for no reason at all, except perhaps to satisfy a hate for those nasty creatures, I don't know, I would not venture to say. What do you think? Actually, this is the reason that I am opposed to hunting as a sport. I believe to kill any animal without the intent of using that animal for survival, for example, eating the meat and or using its skin for warmth and protection, is a sin and a crime against nature. Killing for self-defense is also justifiable. So where does all this leave us on the issue of abortion? It seems pretty obvious where God stands. When will we learn that God is the giver of life, and only He may take it away? As I mentioned a moment ago, special circumstances such as to punish crimes and self-defense are excluded. Also, He is the one who opens and closes the womb of a woman. The Bible teaches this in several instances. To interfere with either of these facts is to place ourselves in the position of God. That's ironic because doesn't pro-choice say in arrogance, "No one tells me what to do with my body"? Wow, that's their whole argument. Now, a logical approach. The greatest hypocrisy I've ever seen on any topic is connected to the abortion issue. But as absurd as it is, the fact exists that federal law prohibits, meaning the perpetrator may likely spend time in prison, the intentional destroying of a bald eagle's egg. In my deepest heart of hearts, I cannot fathom why a supposedly sane and intelligent justice system would place that kind of value on an unborn bird and not an unborn human being. And that's coming from a bird watcher. I love birds. But how can one recognize the potentiality of life for one species, for example birds, and not another? Perhaps I think too much, but I just cannot link myself to the U.S. Supreme Court idea vocalized many years ago that we need not resolve the difficult question of when life begins. Is it resolved for birds, but not for babies? I will concede, however, that for some it is a difficult question, for the argument is not settled just because I believe that life begins at conception. Even though doctors and scientists can neither justify nor condemn my position, the point is this: if we are not 100% sure that the fetus is not a human life, then we have absolutely no right to terminate the pregnancy. As members of the U.S. Supreme Court recently referred to the murdering of babies. Sounds much better. Dr. Harold O.J. Brown said it better than I could ever in his booklet entitled The Bible on Abortion, reprinted from the book Death Before Birth by the same author. He wrote, with regard to the morality of killing a developing fetus, "It is not enough to say we are not sure if it is human. We must be able to say we are sure it is not human. If a hunter were to see movement in the bush and shoot at it, it would not be enough for him to say he was not sure it was another hunter. He would have to be able to say he was sure it was not. How can we be sure the fetus is not a human being? Clearly we cannot. It is far easier to be sure of the contrary, that it is. But the court's whole argument falls if we are even in legitimate doubt about the matter. the courts legalize an action that has a very good possibility of being the killing of innocent human beings. How thoroughly logical, and yet the debate goes on, as does the murdering without cause of innocent blood. The blood that, like that of the blood of Abel, is crying out for judgment against this nation. Indeed, how can it not? God have mercy in that time. Finally, consider the growth of the child inside the womb. The penetrating and nagging question now calls out for an answer. At what stage of this 9-month development do you, as judge and jury, abort or terminate a pregnancy? Even by the end of the very first month of pregnancy, before many women are even sure they have conceived, many vital organs have already formed and are functioning, and the heart starts pumping blood to the brain soon after. So when do you abort, I ask? Please answer if you can. If you cannot, and I hope that you cannot, please join myself and millions of others in fighting this great evil. How, you say? There are many ways. Prayer, for one. Writing your state and federal representatives is another. And joining alongside valid, sane, nonviolent pro-life organizations. Perhaps even sharing this video. Some of you may be wondering about abortion in cases of rape, incest, or life-threatening danger to the mother. Although it may come across as somewhat insensitive for a man to place himself as judge in any of these situations, I have to say that if abortion is wrong, that is, a sin against God and a crime against nature, it must be wrong in every situation. Nevertheless, my heart goes out to any woman finding herself in any one of those circumstances. May God give you the strength to do what's right. And may God give us all the wisdom to understand truth and the strength to live it out. Since the landmark Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision in 1973 legalizing abortion, there have been approximately 57 million abortions in the United States. I say approximately because that number is changing daily. 57 million abortions. Each one of those so-called procedures was a human life lost. A baby, supposedly in the safest, most nurturing place known to man, and then he or she was murdered. How many brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers, neighbors and citizens, teachers, doctors, maybe the research scientist that was destined to discover the cure for all diseases, even cancer, congressmen, business owners, farmers, and just good people that never saw the light of day. Please, if you're thinking of having an abortion, don't do it. Remember, someone wants your baby, and he or she is a baby. Before you have an abortion, have an ultrasound done. Many clinics will do that at no charge to you, and then you will see for yourself that he or she is a baby. There's no doubt about that. If you've already had an abortion, turn to God. He is so gracious. If you come clean about what you've done, in other words, be honest about it, admit you killed a baby, asking Him to forgive you, you will experience His love and you'll feel His power to heal. He still loves you. That will never change. Well, I hope this video has been a help and a blessing to you, maybe even somewhat eye-opening. If so, please share it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. God bless you. I'll see you next time.